Now, moving on, there's a big game, must-win game for Cincinnati. We're going to the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Cincinnati Bengals at Cincinnati. Uh, this is a must-win game, as we mentioned, for Cincinnati. 1-3, they go in 1-4. Baltimore moving to 3-2. That would be very detrimental for the Cincinnati Bengals. Once again, Pat, we did have you boots on the ground for this Cincinnati game last weekend, so we'll get your take on Cincinnati in just a second. I want to shout out the rookie Nate Wiggins for Baltimore first. He got his first start versus the Buffalo Bills, and they completely shut down the Buffalo Bills. I don't know if you guys know this, but Buffalo, I believe, has won the last 40 or in the last 42 games, they have not lost by more than 6 points. 42 games. The last game they got blown out in was in 2021 to the Colts. Baltimore looked like a Super Bowl contender. Lamar Jackson looked like the best version of Lamar Jackson I've seen to date, and that's a two-time MVP right there. He looked like he had the best, the best, most elite pocket presence I've seen since he's been in the NFL. But to Nate Wiggins, as his first start, he had 24 snaps, 2 targets against him, and he only let up 1 reception for 5 yards. He looked elite.
Who I want to shout out for the Baltimore Ravens is, there's been questions about the offensive line in terms of pass protection. How about when you have a lead and those dudes can just push forward, and Derrick Henry has emerged, seemingly having juice left in the legs. I mean, the guy is dominating week in and week out. They're creating holes for him. When you get the guy going downfield with a head full of steam, 6 yards per carry. 6 yards per carry for Derrick Henry, who played X amount of years with the Titans. I mean, you would think there may be, some wear and tear, but my God, I mean, they have, he has reinvigorated, that offense just with his production and then being able to move the ball consistently down the field with him. I thought a lot of people thought there was going to be a lot of, questions with that running game. They lost Gus Edwards over the offseason. How much juice is left in Derrick Henry? The guy has shown up and produced, and it has been to the benefit of that offense. Yes, I know they're clawing their way back, but my God, I mean, the connection between him and the offensive line of the holes they're making him, you give him an alley, no one wants to run him over. I mean, it is, I think, the only chance the Bengals have, and they have had the struggles on the defensive side of the ball. I think the only chance they have is slowing him down. I don't know if that's going to happen.
I mean, and to that point, I just want to say the offensive line, it seems like they figured out for Baltimore. They put Macari at left guard, I believe. Rosengarten stepped up at right tackle. Seems like he's come along just fine. And again, big boys, they like to move forward. They like to bury people. When you run the ball like that, first play, you know what happens. And Pat, you can. Pat, I want you to talk about the Ravens a little bit, and then I want to talk.
Yeah.
You can dive right into Cincinnati as well, because I know your boots on the ground.
No, yeah, I mean, I could talk about both at the same time, because I'll tell you what, you don't get a nickname like King for no reason. Okay, that guy he has been the best running back in the NFL, especially when you talk about pure runners. If we're not considering the pass game as much, because obviously Christian McCaffrey has been great as well. But when you see how much in terms of just pure rushing yards, how far out ahead Derrick Henry is, and how he has been somewhat of a dinosaur in the sense of, like, you don't see bell cow running backs that just dominate in the way that Derrick Henry has. You just don't see it anymore in the way that the position is valued in the NFL. But when you have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, it was only a matter of time before this offense absolutely exploded, because there's no way to defend that at the mesh point. Once you've got Lamar threatening to hand it, as soon as Lamar threatens to hand the ball off to Derrick Henry becomes the immediate focus of your offense. Okay, or of your defense. He has to be, or else you're not going to be able to tackle him. You need to get 2 guys to hit him, right? But as soon as you see that he doesn't have the ball and that Lamar Jackson has the ball, you're already 4 seconds too late, and Lamar Jackson's beating you with his legs or with his arm. And Christian, like you said, he's looked. It takes a great player to go one-on-one with Josh Allen on primetime and look like the better player, especially this season. And so when you talk about that offense, like you said, the offensive line finding their stride, it was only a matter of time before this whole Ravens organization got it back together and clicked this season. And then going to the Bengals, I'll tell you what, they made some good plays on offense. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Joe Burrow is going to be a solid quarterback, of course, but he ain't Lamar Jackson. And this offense, or in this defense, specifically the Cincinnati Bengals defense, we're getting diced up at points in that game by Andy Dalton and Deontay Johnson. I think they're not ready for a team like the Ravens, especially not at this point and how they've looked. Think that, there were points in that game on Sunday with the Bengals offense where they struggled to move the ball down the field against that Panthers defense. And there were close plays, like I said, where had things gone another way, we could be looking at a team that is 0-4 right now in Cincinnati. And if they were 0-4, I don't think anyone would be giving them a chance against the Ravens. I was there, and they did not look like overwhelmingly the better team against the Panthers. So I've got to go Ravens to dominate this game. I haven't been as confident about a pick like this in a while. And I think that just with the way that Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry were playing against the Bills, who I think are a legitimate contender, and it's no joke. It's not a knock against the Bills to say that the Ravens look like one of the best teams in the NFL on Sunday night. So,
yeah,
Christian,
I got to go with the Ravens.
Christian, I had a question for you. It seems like where the Bengals have found success is both Zach Moss and Chase Brown. I mean, Zach Moss has become a touchdown merchant on the goal line. Being that they drive all the way down the field, he's able to shoot it in. Chase Brown has really emerged as a really good change of pace back. Do you think a lot of the questions fall on Joe Burrow right now? I mean, I feel like he's had a bounce back game, but I don't know, in terms of moving the ball down the field, it's not looked well with the offensive line in terms of pass protection and the connections that he's getting. With T. Higgins, who had the contract dispute, didn't have a full training camp. It still feels like there's a little rust there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the rust that we mentioned that I blame ownership for. I mean, not handling any of these situations before the season began. I don't think you got T. Higgins full, ready to go training camp, and I think that's why he missed the first couple of games. I also don't think I think he could have went if he really wanted to, if he was really motivated to go in some of those games, even though, I want to take a step back, get healthy. I get that for T. Offensively, I have no issues with the Bengals to date. I know they're a bit rusty. I think that's more because of contract disputes more than anything. But in the last couple of weeks, they looked good against Minnesota. Scoring 25 points or more should get you a win in most games. They've done it the last 3 weeks. I think the issues lie with the defense. Not choosing to pay DJ Reader seems to have bite you in the butt. And then there's no replacement. I mean, right now, Sheldon Rankins and BJ Hill are out, and it seems like that's where they're getting thrashed from. They can't stop the run, it seems like. And, I mean, my God, I have to shout out for Baltimore, Patrick Ricard, the 300-pound bomb. It seems like every time he's in the game, they're going to gain at least 10 yards. And with Derrick Henry running behind him, Tyler Linderbaum, I don't know if BJ Hill, I don't know if Sheldon Rankins are going to go. It looks pretty disastrous for Cincinnati coming up on Sunday. And I do want to shout out, if you squint, he looks kind of like Darren Sproles out there. I have to shout out Justice Hill.
Yep.
I think What was the joke that was made? It sounds like the name of where the Supreme Court should be at, Justice Hill. But yeah, I think that was on yesterday. But
Here's
Hey,
here's one question I wanted to pose to you. At this point they've given up 104 points on defense. I don't know who has a hotter seat, Zach Taylor or Lou Anarumo. I mean, something needs to happen on the defensive side of the ball.
yeah,
I don't know if that's fallen on
well,
the axe for Zach Taylor, but I mean, it's got to be
well,
cleaned up quickly or
I
somewhere. I
think
mean, they're
we've.
one
I
and
think
three.
to answer your question, Mike, I think it's going to depend on how much this offense is able to put consistent drives together for the rest of the year, and whether the defense is still clearly the weak link. Because, like I said, I mean, the Panthers and Andy Dalton were moving the ball on this Bengals defense, and they were staying in the game. So, and Joe Burrow and that offense is starting to find their stride too. I mean, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase connected on some huge plays, and T. Higgins, he was a consistent target throughout the game. So, like, they're getting that game back together. I don't know if they'd want to fire Zach Taylor if that offense continues to click, but if the team continues to lose, they're going to have no choice. I mean, they're going to have to fire the guy.
I mean, and the Bengals historically start slow, so maybe it's not
yeah.
100% the panic button, but you're peeking at it and you're looking at that defense for sure.
Well, it certainly does not look good for the kin of Zach Taylor. That is for sure.